Hey guys, what's going on? This is Brad from the Ed Army, and today we are starting off with part 0 of our new How to Budget series, focusing on how you can battle back against the meta, and we are starting off with the deck, which I think is actually the king of budget decks, which is going to be Dinosaurs. So before I get into it, as always, you know what to do: like, comment, and subscribe, guys, and share it if you want to help out people. Pretty much, I'm making this almost as like my version response to like what's going on with Yu-Gi-Oh! People say it's too expensive. That is true for certain engines, certain decks. So pretty much, I understand and agree with that. However, I do think that some people start in the wrong place, or they don't give other decks a chance. I actually think there's a lot of good budget cores you could pick up and use, and then build accordingly. So this is just what I've got cooking to start off with, because this is part 0. Because I want to show you the cards that are basically the heart and soul of this budget deck, and it'll be evolving slowly as the series goes on. So I just want to get into it too. So obviously, we're starting with Dinosaurs. And pretty much it's one of the best decks foundationally, because you have everything that's already been reprinted, everything's cheap, and all the cards are actually very strong, so you can go many ways. So let's just start off with what we have for the core. Already starting off, 3 copies of Solar Oviraptor. I don't really need to describe this too much for you guys who don't know. If you want me to, I will go into an in-depth video about how Dinosaurs kind of work, but otherwise we'll just go straight through it. So Oviraptor's here, he's our Stratos, he's our Foolish Burial as well if you need to. Also, he's our combo extender, and obviously the heart and soul of the deck that lets you get started. So pretty much Oviraptor is always going to be a 3-up in all of the Dinosaur strategies, at least so far. And for a budget build, this is absolutely fantastic because you can use it. Our next 3-up that only gets better as better dinosaurs come out is going to be 3 Baby Ceratosaurus. So pretty much this card is absolutely phenomenal. This card has never not been good. I think it's just finding ways to pop it has been the key, because you always get to summon out level 4 lower dinosaurs from your deck, and you get some explosive turns when you proc that effect. So pretty much 3 babies is always the way to go when you're starting off with a budget, because you don't really need to not play them, because you're always going to have access to other tools. Next is 3 copies of PT.0. You can change the numbers as you go. However, for this super budget build that we'll be starting with, and also the playsets of cards you probably will need if you want to switch in and out, I have 3 Pteranodon here. It just gives you a better chance at opening up dinosaurs you need to pop for your other dinosaurs, and as your combo enablers, these help. Whereas Baby only gets you level 4 and lowers, Petite lets you do level 4 and higher. So there are some cards you can bring up that are pretty spicy, and Petite is the way to go. And 3 as well, I'm super glad they reprinted this card in Wild Survivors, which is Adorned Archosaur. So this card is absolutely, I think it's really nuts for a budget build, because this card was one of the only, I think, cards that it wasn't too pricey, but it wasn't cheap either, because it was only a secret rare before it was printed into tins, and by making it a rare just makes it absolutely accessible. Being able to get your double evolution pills, as well as being a starter if you really need to pop something in your hand, being a 1-for-1 target, being able to do all these extra things that it can be, is just what makes the deck so unique, because a Adorned Archosaur just lets you get to that double evolution pill that you didn't really have as much access to, and now you just have as much access to it as you want, which makes the deck just so much more consistent. And for a budget player, consistency is the key, because a lot of non-budget decks are usually are very inconsistent, or they lack the consistency cards. Dinosaur is one of those decks where all of its cards, for the most part, unless you're playing out of engine pieces, are cheap, so it's really beneficial. Next, obviously, we have UCT here. Ultimate Conductor Tyranno is the boss of bosses. I don't think this goes anywhere. You always play 2 unless you're playing some really wombo combo deck where you have to be tight on space. UCT just gets the job done. He's your Book of Moon. He's your OTK enabler if you need to. He's also your way to just do extra damage if you just need to burn your opponent into time with the attack effect that he has, which has come up a few times. So pretty much this card is absolutely insane. Just letting you know, UCT is always here to play. Now, some of the one-ofs. One card I wish would be at 3, but it's not, because this will be quick, is going to be Misk. So Misk is here. You have to play it at 1 because it's at 1. If it was at more copies, this card would obviously be bulked up. This card would at least be 2, even 3 if it was available, and you would cut down some of the numbers of other dinosaurs. But we have to play just 1 because it's only available at 1. This card's amazing. It gives you protection. It lets you basically turbo out in the later game when you need something. So this card's absolutely insane. Like I said, I won't go over what they do too much, but pretty much just know Misk is almost a god card if you draw it. So the joke has always been dinosaur players always find a way to get it to their hand. They never need to search it. So yeah, and then people always ask what Misk does, which is hilarious. Next, one copy of Giant Rex. This is just here because you have an additional dinosaur, and you probably want to get one that at least does something. So Giant Rex is really good. Also, it being 2k attack is funny because there will be instances where people can't run it over, like in a weird position, or they will realize this thing has 2000 attack, and you can just start like beating over monsters, but you can't attack directly. So keep that in mind. But Giant Rex is hilarious, and it summons itself out when you banish it, so it's pretty good. Now, some of the one-ofs but additional engine pieces. I'll show you one for at least the obvious one for out of engine is going to be triple copies of Lithosagium. So you could choose to play this at less than 3 if you want to. You don't have to. This is just here's another way to pop your babies, but also it gives you a level 9 body that you can do stuff with. You get to rip your opponent's extra deck if its effect resolved when you pop at least 2 Earths. So this card's absolutely powerful. It does a lot and it can get you there. It's just if you're not playing Diagram, you have a harder way of seeing this. You have to hard open it. But hey, this is here because it's on a budget, and I actually really love this card, so don't rule it out. And then for the final dinosaur monster, just as a throw-in for you guys, if you want to, you don't have to, is this one that I actually got from Wild Survivor, which is the Tyrannosaurus Meteorus. At first, this card can also be Pankratops. It can be all these others. So as I actually get the deck profile in another video, you will see what I've got after I do the engines and text I showed you. The reason I'm showing this card off is it can be any of the level 4 or higher dinosaur monsters that you want to take into your deck. This one's just really interesting because it's super big, and for some reason it can be special summoned off of Petite Pteranodon, so keep that in mind. So you could drop out a 3500 attack monster for free, so just letting you guys know. Now moving into our spells that you probably don't want to pass up on. They're pretty standard. So we're on 3 Fossil Dig here. So effectively Fossil Dig just lets you search for level 6 or lower dinosaur monsters, not once per turn, and is absolutely the best searcher you've got, and it's super budget and affordable, so you never want to not play this. You'll always have access to the dinosaurs you need if you're running it. And then we're running into some of the last of our spells here. So we have double evolution pill. This is just here to let you basically banish out monsters from your graveyard. One has to be a non-dinosaur, the other one has to be a dinosaur, and you basically summon your higher engines from the deck that way, your other dinosaurs. So it just gets you to where you need to be, and it's absolutely nuts. And you just want to play this because you always search this with Aminadorn, so you don't pass it up. And finally, the last cards I'm running in this list is going to be triple Lost World. This is basically the end-all be-all you need for your field spells. There will be obviously text. Like I said, this isn't the beginning obviously of the deck profile. This is just me showing you basically the numbers you probably need if you want to start, but ultimately this is what we're working with, and that is the key part here. Is it's the last field spell. It does everything you need it to do if you're playing the Lost World Dino build. So obviously on the budget, that's the one I would recommend. So if you guys are wondering why I started off the video like this and to get to this part, so effectively if you're wondering, I just showed you 28 cards of a possible 40 card deck or higher if you want. Now the question I have to ask you is, how much do you think all that was? So I'll give you 5 seconds to go ahead and think about it. Okay, I hope you have your answers. I can tell you how much this was. So for me, it cost different because I've opened it all from a box. However, even at the current price of when I checked prior till now, this specific, at least core technically that I just showed you, it's probably under about $7-8, maybe even less than that if you can get them at a penny. As, believe it or not, if you were to check on TCG Player, you will see a lot of the cards at one-ofs thanks to Wild Survivors. And this is also one of the reasons why, although that set was not very good, it also produced something very amazing in the form of all these budget dinosaur cards, because effectively by them printing all the dinos in rare, this has made them extremely, and I mean extremely budget in terms of the main core access you need. So everything else that's additional, you will have to mix and match. But the big reason why I'm telling you guys, if you want to start with Dinosaur, if you're a beginning player or a player who wants to switch to a deck maybe they've never tried, or they've been thinking about picking up a Dinosaur core again but worried it's too expensive, this is absolutely a core that if you want to pick it up, it is worth it because it is so cheap. You aren't going to lose any money on this, I promise, unless you're buying max rarity. If you're buying low rarity or whatever you can get, this is fine. I would actually, If I was probably in high school, like when I started playing Yu-Gi-Oh, if I knew there was a deck this cheap that was this powerful, I probably would play this like religiously, because this deck is super good. And even this isn't even a full profile, so I have other cards I can add to the deck to increase its price. But if I knew that I could get all of this for that low price, at least, you know, now is different than before, it's just so good. Like, that's just the key I'm trying to get across to you guys. Dinosaur is so affordable. It's so uniquely good for lots of players. And this is the reason why I'm starting off the series with this one, because there's just so much applications you can do. And in the next video, you guys will see shortly, but when I get it out, it's going to focus on the engines and the different tips and tricks you can do onto this deck to get it to a higher level of playing. So I also want to take this time to kind of maybe keep you guys focused on working on this deck if you see these videos, because I don't want you to see where people are negatively putting down the fact they're like, oh, it'll lose to an SP Little Knight or blah blah blah, you know, all the extra stuff, or it needs to have these cards. Here's the thing, I technically agree that you'll need like really good staple cards to some extent. However, I'm not one of those people who says I think you have to have everything in order to enjoy the game. I think if you're not enjoying the game, I don't understand why you're playing. And that's just my own personal opinion. If you play to win, that's still cool, but if you're not enjoying it, then I don't think there's really a point to enjoy anything. So that's honestly, like for Digimon, I like collecting it more, and I don't mind playing, but if anything, I just like collecting. Whereas with Yu-Gi-Oh, I love playing, I don't really care for collecting, but you know, I still have the decks I love, and I still love to play the game, and I don't really care if I lose or win a lot of the times, unless it's like I guess it becomes like a grudge match if you have it with someone, but I don't really do that anymore, since I haven't really had issues with people if I did go to locals. So that's like the only time you're just like, I want to take a win off of them. Other than that, not really. So like when I play with my friends or just people that I want to like test with, that's the way I look at it, because I just want to have fun and enjoy it. And I just want to pass it off to you guys too, because there's been that talk going on lately where everyone's like, the game's too expensive, you can't enjoy it if it's super expensive. I technically don't agree with that. There's so many ways you can play online that eliminates that, but I'm not going to also disagree with the fact that practices are bad, because I think that we should definitely get more for what we pay for, because Yu-Gi-Oh is still very expensive, and that's not really a good thing when we're talking about longevity in the long run, because you're basically telling me only people that have sustained jobs, so it's like kids will eventually not get into it because they'll only be adults. My point is, after that ramble, is that Dinosaur is the budget king. This is the discussion for it, and I'm going to continue on building this deck up, because there are just so many different avenues you can go with it that I enjoy, and I hope that you guys can enjoy as well as I continue with the series. So that's all I've got for you guys today. Thank you so much, and as always, this is Brad from the Ed Army signing off, and for all of you out there, just sign on.